top of the mountain to all of you. I am Colby, and in today's video, we are doing the Weaver's Needle Loop. There are many ways to do the Weaver's Needle Loop. I'm doing this in 3 days with a little modification to what most people do. So I'm on day 2 already, and I'm going to catch you guys up in a little bit because it's been a little bit rushed up to this point, because in the desert you want to make some miles while it's still a little shady. We still got the sun behind the mountain, so I'm trying to make some miles before it gets hot. But when I get to camp, I'm going to fill you guys in on some of the details on day 1, night 1, and how that went. But just wanted to stop here for a moment and admire Weaver's Needle. It is one of the most amazing places in all of Arizona, and definitely in the Superstitions. This is an iconic loop that a lot of people do. And so keep following me along. I'll give you some more details about the loop and how to do it and my favorite ways to do it as well. So I'm going to keep moving so I can hike in the shade, and I appreciate you guys following along. I've made it to camp. I am at Barge Spring at a campsite that I have stayed at many times before. And today has just been incredible. I just rolled in here around 12:30 and I did about 10 miles today, and I started at 6:30. That last hour though was hot. It was high noon. It got a little hotter out here than I was anticipating. I think it got around 80, 85 degrees. And I was thinking it would be around 75 today. I'm excited to tell you guys all about yesterday and today, but first I need to fuel up. I'm gonna have a little bit of lunch and some snacks, but I wanted to show you, if you do the tuna cup and crackers, sometimes I just take these on day hikes or, when I'm backpacking just for a quick snack or lunch. It comes in a bulky box, and I always take it out of the box and put it in a baggie. That way it's easier to pack, but also when I open up this tuna can and eat the tuna out of there, there's still some residue and stuff in there. It's nice just to put it back in the baggie, zip it back up so you don't have to smell it or anything, and then just toss it in your trash. So that's just a little tip before I dive into my lunch. But after lunch, I'm gonna take a little break here. I need to catch my breath, drink some more water. I'm excited to tell you guys all about the day. All right, I've eaten lunch. I feel so much better after consuming a mass amount of calories after all the hiking I did today. But I'll tell you what, that bumblebee tuna cup with crackers, it was the bagel seasoning flavor, which I've never had. I don't know if that's a new flavor. It was amazing. I don't know if it was because I'm so dang hungry, but that is a do again. It's a good snack on the trail, a quick lunch. I didn't really feel like cooking anything. It was so hot out. So that worked out perfectly for me. I'm sitting in the middle of LaBarge Creek, and normally this time of year we have flow. It is flowing like a river. But it has been so dry this year that there is no flow, there is no water, except there is a spring right here from my chair. I can see the water coming down. This is Barge Spring. It has great water. I've filled up there many times. It's just a little bit of a muddy mess to get up in there and fill up. But the water is very fresh. It comes right out of the rocks. So I'm excited to tell you guys about how this trip has gone so far. I feel like I've been a silent filmer for the past 2 days because it's just been a little bit of a rush getting from point A to point B to point C. And I wanted to start you off with my day yesterday. So yesterday, I worked till almost 5 o'clock. I was hoping my appointment would get over early, or maybe they would no-show. They didn't. So it became a rush to get in my car, to get to the Peralta Trailhead and get up that trail as fast as I could so I could catch the sunset. Peralta Trailhead to Fremont Saddle is roughly 2 miles. So it's not far, but it is elevation gain. You are just going up that canyon, and it's over 1,000 feet in elevation gain. It's not easy, but it's not hard. But I definitely wanted to get to the top before the sun went down. 1, yeah, to see the sunset, but 2, to find the camp spot before it got dark. There are many campsites along Fremont Saddle. So the main saddle, you could camp right there where everybody stops and takes the picture. But that is a little crowded. There's a lot of people that come to that spot. From Fremont Saddle, you can hike out to Lone Pine, and it's an additional roughly half a mile. And along that trail, there are several places to set up a tent. If you could snag a spot at Lone Pine, which is this one pine tree in the middle of the desert, if you look left, you look right, you look behind you, there are no pine trees. This is the only one out there, and it sits right at the lookout point for Weaver's Needle. And so it's an iconic photograph to get that one pine tree with Weaver's Needle in the background, and to then camp there, to set your tent right up there. It's, you know, a whole nother level of, oh my gosh, is this happening? Pinch me. Like, it is so amazing, especially if you can catch the sunset. So I got up there pretty quickly. I did catch the sunset. It was just spectacular. We had some clouds, which made that pink, you know, hue in those clouds as it went down. And I also was able to nab a spot at Lone Pine. There were two other guys there that already had their tent set up, but they were on the other side of these rocks. And so I asked them, they were cool. They said, yeah, sure, not a problem. And I camped on the other side. The spot that's right under the tree is a really cool spot, but it does have like a wind tunnel coming right up through there. So wanted to stay there, but decided it wasn't the right spot. So I put my tent maybe 10 yards to the left so I could be behind a windbreak. There was some rocks and little bushes and stuff. So I got my tent set up before the sun went down and realized that I was next to a mouse den, because when that sun went down, I can see a mouse scurrying around, and that was pretty close to where its hole was. So then I got some anxiety and thought, is this mouse gonna be chewing through my tent all night? And I debated if I should just move my tent, and I was pretty tired at that point. And I said, you know what, I'm just gonna trust the mouse that he'll do his thing and I'll do my thing. And sure enough, that's what happened. So luckily I have no holes in my tent. I did end up hanging my food and things on that pine tree that's out there. So it was a good night. I did not put my fly up, which I usually put my fly up because of just condensation, keeping a little heat in, stuff like that. But such a nice night. It's not cold out here anymore. It got down to low 50s, so you know, not a big deal. It was also windy, and when you have your fly on, when it's windy, it just whips and keeps you up all night. And so I just opted to not put the fly on. So after the sun went down, I got my tent set up, I made dinner, and I had the Backpacker's Pantry mashed potatoes and gravy with beef, and it was good. Imagine having a plate of roast beef, mashed potatoes, and gravy, and then you just kind of mash it all up together and mix it up and take that one like really good bite. That's what it tasted like. So that was a good hearty meal. The calories on that meal aren't super high, but I don't sometimes need more than that anyways. I think it was like 300 and something calories. It felt like it was a lot more than that just because it was like mashed potatoes, gravy, and beef. But I felt very full after that, and I would do it again. It's also a gluten-free meal, so it's not always you can get gravy gluten-free, but they made this one gluten-free. So if you're gluten-free out there, that is a good meal to try. So I knew today was going to be a long day, so I got up early and made breakfast before the sun came up. I had the Trailtopia oatmeal, brown sugar, and raisins, and it was actually really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I would definitely do that one again. Sometimes you think like, do I just buy the Quaker cheap packets? And yeah, you can, that works too. But this oatmeal from Trailtopia tastes a lot better than that one. And so it was good to try one of those because I don't want to pay more than a little sack of Quaker oatmeal either, unless I get the value out of that. And I would say I got the value out of that. It tasted hearty. The oats were much better than like a Quaker oat or a Better Oats. And it was delicious and tasted really good on the cold morning as I was waking up, getting ready to pack up camp. So after getting camp picked up, I got on the trail probably around 6:30 as the sun was coming up. Weaver's Needle was starting to glow from the sunrise. And going down the other side and passing Weaver's Needle on the left-hand side of it, the rocks, the pillars, Weaver's Needle, it is truly a magical trail. This is one of the iconic trails, Peralta Trail, I think, in all of the Superstitions. From the trailhead up to the saddle and then back down as you're passing Weaver's Needle. There's not too many other trails out there that compete with the views of this place. The reason these rocks look so cool is because it formed from volcanic tuff. And so the erosion is really cool on these. You can see all these really amazing pillars. And then Weaver's Needle looks really cool as you're moving across it, looking at the different angles from it. It looks totally different on one side or the other side or the north side or the south side. It's just really incredible views all the way around it. That's what makes this loop so iconic, because you get to just see this really cool spire the whole time you're hiking around this loop. The trail was very slow going for me, not because the trail was hard. The trail's amazing. It's really easy. It's just the views. I was filming, I was taking pictures, I was stopping and just ooh-eyeing. You've got like, you know, round rocks, meatballs, I call them, that just sit up and balance right on top. And as you're getting closer to Weaver's Needle, there are campsites, right? I counted, I think, 2 or 3 before we got to the turnoff if you were going to climb Weaver's Needle, which people do. And then after the turnoff to climb Weaver's Needle, there are also lots of camping spots. So, I mean, there's camping spots all along Peralta Trail. So if you are backpacking it and you want to go a little further than the saddle, you most certainly can. I saw a really good group site that was big and you could fit, I don't know, 7, 8 tents probably in that area. That was probably a half mile or so past the turnoff to Weaver's Needle. So as I'm slowly working my way down the trail, I'm looking at different campsites for future trips, of course, because I like to take my kids out backpacking, but got to make sure there is places to stay along the way that aren't too far. So plenty of campsites all the way down Peralta Trailhead. If you would like to go a little further than the Fremont Saddle, you can. There's, you know, lots of camping all along the way. And even further down, I just kept seeing little spots, you know, so lots of places to pull off. So you can kind of go as far as you want before you pull off and grab one of the spots. Didn't see any tents at any of the spots, by the way, but it is a little warm this weekend, which a lot of people like decide not to come out if it's going to be a little warm. And then I continued down Peralta Trail, and eventually you hook up with the Dutchman Trail. And then the Dutchman Trail is the trail that loops you back up and around Weaver's Needle. Now the north view of Weaver's Needle is really awesome. Right around where you hook up with Dutchman Trail, and you're walking towards Weaver's Needle. And let me tell you, that is a spectacular view. It's also the view that Weaver's Needle looks the biggest because you are at a low point looking up at it, and it's pretty close. And the prominence of it is just like right in your face. It is amazing. And right around that point is where you start going uphill. There is at least 4 miles or so that you are going downhill from Fremont Saddle. Very easy hiking. I mean, you're just cruising. It is not hard at all. You are not sweating. You are not huffing. You are going downhill. And by the way, I'm doing this clockwise. This is the recommended way, I think, because you get the view as you're walking down versus if you were coming up Peralta, passing Weaver's Needle, it would kind of be behind you. So this is the way I like to do it. But there was only one section that went uphill pretty much all day today, and it was only about 20 minutes. So I'm not sure how that happened, but I felt like I was going downhill for most of the miles today. Not a hard hike, just a little bit heavy of a load because of water. And right around mile 5 or 6, I took a kind of a mandatory break. I wasn't like super tired, but I just told myself I need to sit down for 15, 20 minutes, drink water, eat a bunch of snacks just to kind of fuel up before I pushed to Charlieboi Spring. And so I took that break. It was a nice break. And after that, you get close to Bluff Spring Mountain and you start heading around the north side of Bluff Spring Mountain. And this is a really cool area because there's a lot of vegetation and trees and really cool rocks and stuff to check out. So great views there. And then you kind of pop out and all of a sudden the burn scar is there from the fire last year where it came through and just kind of wiped out a big area in the Superstitions. It was a large fire. We don't really know exactly how it was started, I don't think, but it took out a good portion. Luckily, it didn't make it all the way up the canyon to Charlieboi Spring and where we're sitting now, but you walk through a pretty significant burn scar. There are just some massive old ancient saguaros that just got melted. I mean, they're just fried. And it's so sad to see that because those things are probably 200 years old and they're gone. So pretty significant fire, but it's gonna take a long time for some of those cactuses and things to come back. So you have to walk through the burn scar, but as you're turning and then all of a sudden heading south again, because we're looping around, you begin walking towards Charlieboi Spring. And once you get into the Charlieboi corridor, it's beautiful. There's a canyon with big cottonwoods and sycamores. There's lots of campsites all along this path. So north of Charlieboi Spring in that canyon and along the way, great spots, sandy ground, easy to pitch your tent. But eventually you come to Charlieboi Spring, and you'll want to do a little research about Charlieboi Spring if you've never been there, because you'll miss it if not. The couple tips I can give you is when you reach the area where it's at, you'll want to stay to the right as you're heading up canyon. You'll see some camp spots right on the left. You'll stay right and just keep heading up the right side of the canyon. You'll see a little pool down to the left. That's not Charlieboi Spring. That is water. You can filter that. It's a little mucky, but there's better water just up the trail. So you keep heading up the trail. You'll pass several campsites along the way, and eventually you get to the spring. And you'll know you got there because there's this giant cottonwood with a big root going across right where you fill up your water. And the water tastes great. I mean, there are fish and pollywogs and tadpoles, and I think there's turtles in there. I haven't seen a turtle, but people say there's turtles in there. So all kinds of life in this little area, and it's probably 4 feet deep. So it's a good pool of water. It's fresh. You can see right to the bottom. It's crystal clear, tastes great. It's a good spot to fill up. I filled up there because I didn't want to walk up the muck up to Barge Spring. Barge Spring is probably a better water source because it's literally like gushing out of the rock and you just fill up. But I opted just to go check out Charlieboi Spring because it's been a few months since I've been there, and it's just a nice area to be at, and I just filled up there. And then from Charlieboi Spring, it's about 1.5 miles to Barge Spring, and that was the heat of the day when I was cooking. I mean, I was walking. That last 1.5 miles was hard. I had to throw my sun hoodie up and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and drinking water. It didn't take me very long to get here, but it was hot, and my bag was freshly loaded with more water, so very heavy. And I'm here. I'm here at Barge Spring, one of my favorite spots to camp. And I came this far because I've got kind of a big day tomorrow as well. Probably have to do another 10 miles, I'm thinking. I'm going up Red Tank's Trail, and there's a canyon called Trap Canyon, which I'm 50-50 on if I'm going to do it. I'd like to try it, or at least go up a part of it, but it is kind of a sketchy canyon, and it's not one you'd want to go up by yourself because it's lots of boulder jams and climbing and different stuff. So I may just go up and check, the lower portion out until it gets a little risky, and then come back to Red Tank's Trail. I'll probably leave my bag at the trail, and I brought a little portable bag that I can take some water and stuff with me. So after I'm done with Trap Canyon, I'm going to come back down to Red Tank's Trail, finish a portion of that Red Tank's Trail before veering off onto Whiskey Springs Trail, which brings you to the Dutchman Trail, and then you swing around Miner's Needle. And after you swing around Miner's Needle, you're almost to the car. It's just kind of a long, flat hike after that to get to the car, and then one last up and down, and boom, you're there. And I'm already craving a Coke, so I can't wait for that tomorrow. But that's where we're at so far. I wish I could have chatted along the way today and yesterday, but yesterday when I was at the Fremont Saddle at Lone Pine, those other people there. I didn't want to shoot YouTube and be talking with them there. So we're halfway through our trip. I'm excited to be here. I've got all afternoon to just hang out, rest in the shade, bird watch, look for animals. I saw some squirrels, lizards. There's all kinds of stuff around here. So this is my kind of day. Hard hike in the morning and get to just relax in the afternoon. It's really nice in the shade though. So we'll see you guys around dinner time. I'll show you what I'm having for dinner as well as show you around camp. All right, quick update on my situation. I had the primo camp spot here at Barge Spring. It's right next to all those big sycamore trees and cottonwoods. It's beautiful. And I thought this would happen, and I was kind of ready for it, but not really. A big group of campers came in, and they basically came in the way I am going out tomorrow, which is about 9 miles. And half of them were just done for the day. So I chatted with them for a moment, and I showed them where Barge Spring was so they can refuel their water. And I let them know that, the next big spot is about a 1/2 mile down trail. And I left them and went back and sat in my chair and just sat there feeling super guilty that I had just me, my one-person Nemo Hornet, which is 2 feet wide by 7 feet long, could fit it anywhere. And here I am sitting in this big, gorgeous campsite. You could probably fit 5 tents in the one spot. So I sat there for a minute or two, and My conscience got to me and I decided, hey, I should probably just give them this spot. It's really not that big of a deal for me. I'm out here all the time. They're done. I would be doing them like a huge favor. And so they were at the spring filling up, and I walked back over there and I said, you know what, it's really easy for me just to pick my stuff up. I hadn't set my tent up or anything yet. And so that's what we did. I gave up my spot. This is still a really good spot. I've stayed in this particular one before. It's just away from the spring, away from those big trees, which is good and bad. You know, the good is like, there's more wildlife over there, more critters, skunks, mice, you know, stuff like that, because that's where the water is. And up here, I'm just kind of right above a wash plateau, and it's a little higher. I'm under like a mesquite tree. And so it's just a different setting, but I do like this spot a lot. So I didn't feel like I was giving up too much. And besides, I do come out here a lot. So doing them a huge favor, it was easy for me to not send them down the trail another half a mile in hopes that nobody was in that spot. But let me know in the comments, what would you do if you were in that situation, sitting in your beautiful campsite under the sycamore trees, relaxing, and then in rolls a party of 7 or 8. They're also, you know, call it 20, 30 yards away from me, so I could like hear them. It was one of those things where it was like, oh, if I send them on their way, I'll have the whole place to myself most likely. But now I've got a little bit of a camp party next to me. Hopefully they're not loud. It is like a mom and a dad and, you know, a handful of teenagers. So I'm hoping that, you know, they don't keep me up tonight, but it was worth it to me to give that up. So I'll check in again in just a little bit when I make dinner, and I may go join them for a campfire. They said they were going to do a fire, and I usually, when I'm by myself, don't do a fire. And so maybe I'll walk down there for a few minutes and hang out with them and see what their story is. All right, tonight for dinner, we have Trailtopia ginger chicken stir fry. Haven't tried this one. Excited to try it. It has 320 calories. Me personally, I like to take smaller meals. Sometimes I'm really hungry, sometimes I'm not so hungry, and just bring like extra meals in case I need another one. All right, it looks like it's hydrated really well. Take a look inside. You can see there's nice chunks of chicken in there, peas, carrots, broccoli crowns. So there's a lot of veggies in this one. Let's give it a good last stir. And let's give this one a try. Bon appetit. All right. That's good. It's just, you know, rice, vegetables, chicken with a little ginger flavor to it. There's some kind of other flavor in there. Can't quite put my thumb on it. Maybe it's just the veggies in there. That's what I'm tasting. Yeah, it's the veggies. The ginger's not overpowering, so you don't get this like strong ginger flavor. It's in the background, but it's there, and it tastes really good. I would do this again. It's just small enough to where, you know, if you get to camp and you're not super hungry, it's a perfect size. You don't feel like you have to eat one of those big like peak refuels, the 2-person ones. This one's perfect, and it'll probably fill me up enough tonight. I'll have a little dessert as well. I'll show you guys a little bit of a trick out here in the desert. So I like chocolate, but can't bring chocolate out here when it's really above like 65, 70 degrees. They just melt. So what I found is Hostess chocolate cupcakes don't melt. Well, at least I haven't had one melt. Maybe I don't hike when it's like 90s, 100s out here. But so far, these have been really good on trail. I'll eat 1 or 2 a day. I love them, and I haven't had one melt yet. So, little trick for desert camping. I'm gonna eat this up and start getting ready to wind down for the night. Good morning, day 3. Had a great night last night. I'm on the trail pretty early, and I'm walking right into the sunrise. It's just magnificent out here this morning, here in the Superstitions. The night was great. I was able to sleep without my fly on, so I was able to stargaze. I think at like 2:30 a.m. I woke up and needed to go to the bathroom, which was good out here. If you wake up and have to go pee, it means you drank enough. But I woke up at 5 because I like to get an early start out here because it just gets hot if you don't. And if I'm planning to go up Trap Canyon, it's going to require a little extra effort today. I made and ate breakfast really quick. It was the Alpenfuel Lemon Berry Mountain Granola, I believe it was called. 620 calories in a really small package. And it was very good. It has like the dehydrated milk in there, so you just stir it around. It's like having berry granola with milk. It was really, really delicious and a lot of calories. It should hopefully sustain me today till I get back to my car, but I'll probably take a break at some point and grab a snack. But I'll tell you what, man, sleeping without a fly here in the desert and seeing the stars. When I woke up like around 2:30, I looked out my left panel and can just have this like perfect view of the Big Dipper. It was just like staring at me right out the panel. And then this morning when I woke up, saw a big satellite as well as a shooting star. So really cool to be able to sleep without the fly on sometimes and just get the stargazing going. My neighbors last night that I gave that primo campsite to, they're really cool. It was a group of like 6 high school kids and they are part of a hiking club. And so, just an experience for them. I am glad I gave them that campsite. It just elevated that experience so much more for them to have just a good time out here creating memories. They were teenagers having fun, so no, they weren't quiet. So I didn't really get that serene, peaceful, evening I was hoping for, but I did go and join them and hang out with them. I found that that's the best thing to do. Because, if you sit off in the distance and you just hear a bunch of noise, it's a little annoying, and they even have a little music. Not loud music, I didn't play it too loud, but so I joined them for a couple hours around their campfire and had a good time with them and got to know them a little bit. And then I turned in for the night around 9 o'clock and went to bed about 9:30, and they turned it off and went to bed as well at 9:30. So great sleep. It was a good night. And man, I'm just enjoying the sunrise as I'm walking into it. I'll just give you a little peek at what I got here. You can see that. So we're heading up the canyon, heading up Red Tanks Trail right now. So Red Tanks, we're gonna veer off and go Trap Canyon, come back, continue on Red Tanks till we get to Whiskey Springs, go up Whiskey, connect to Dutchman, and then to the car. We'll catch you guys in just a minute. Behind me here is Trap Canyon. I just finished going up and back. It was quite a bit of work, a lot of bouldering, but it was as pristine as a canyon in the Superstitions can get. Not a lot of people go up in Trap Canyon. It is a little complicated and difficult to get up in there. I followed a game trail on this side over here, and it just kind of took me up close to the mouth of the canyon and then finally dropped down into the wash, so I didn't have to go up this wash. I'm sitting right on Red Tanks Trail where it crosses the Trap Canyon wash, and I just got reorganized and stuff. And so it took me about 2 hours getting up in there and back. I didn't go up like all the way. I went up just enough to where it opens really wide again. And I think if you go up further, it does narrow back, and that's where like the trap is for Trap Canyon. I'm not totally certain. There's not a lot of information on the canyon, but let me tell you, this is just an amazing canyon. I only saw like, I think one other set of footprints, but lots of animal footprints all along the wash and sand. I mean, this is one of those canyons that rarely gets seen. And it's one of those canyons I wish I could just go up there and sit for a couple hours in silence and just look around. There's birds flying around, animals, just a really, really pristine area. There's lots of puddles of water up there. There's also these alcoves that sit up high, and there's also an alcove down low, right next to each other with spots where you can tell there was some ancient history there, where most likely some Indians habited that area. You can see lots of little shards of rocks that don't belong up on those alcoves. They didn't naturally fall there. They are chipped away And you can see kind of formed flat areas, and you could probably backpack up in there and camp in those alcoves. It's flat, there's spots. You can tell people have camped there before. But the views along that canyon are pristine and amazing. It's definitely calling me back to explore it more and go up higher and higher and get up there. I just have still probably another 7 miles to the car, so I just didn't want to go too far and just waste myself, because it is a lot of bouldering when you get up in there, and it takes a little bit of energy. And the sun's coming up, and as it gets hotter, it's just harder to hike. It's just after 9 o'clock on March 30th, 2025. And it's been a really dry year up here, obviously. Back here again, there's a backpacking campsite like right here by the little game trail that I followed up. But I think I would come up. I'm just trying to figure out, you'd probably want to come when there's a little more water. There's pools up there, but they're a little stagnant. But if you could just get a little flow, that would be better. But not easy going. A lot of cat claw, a lot of bushwhacking, stuff like that. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, you may not want to attempt this one. And honestly, like after being up in there, I was a little bit unsure if I wanted to share about it, because it's just so pristine and untouched. Like you can tell nobody's been up there in a long time, or, probably sees a handful of people a year up in there. And it's its own little habitat up there. You can tell the wildlife just thrives in that canyon. But if you have questions about Trap Canyon, I'm not an expert in it. I only went up a little ways, just enough to be satisfied, just enough to call me back and say, hey, we got to do this one all the way. I don't think people are going to be flooding in here, because this is pretty far out here. You have to really want it to do this. But it is just, an outstanding, amazing, pristine area. So I'm going to continue on Red Tank's trail right here, and I'm going to hook up with Whiskey Springs and take that up to connect with Dutchman Trail. And then Dutchman Trail comes around Miner's Needle, which is a really cool vantage point as well, and then off through the flat area to the parking lot. So I'm going to wrap up here, but wanted to thank you guys for coming along my journey around Weaver's Needle and doing this sort of modification to the loop to hit Trap Canyon. It does extend the backpacking route quite a bit, but it's an area I've been wanting to hit for a while, and this was my chance to do it before summer came. And I don't really get to get out like this too often without my kids, and so this was definitely a more challenging route that I did this time. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and follow along for more. We get out, we backpack, we camp, we do all kinds of outdoor stuff. So if you liked this video, make sure you click that like button. And if you're like us and get outdoors quite a bit, we hope to see you on the trail.